My name is Ellen. For 15 years, I thought Mark and I had a solid, if sometimes predictable, marriage. We built a life, raised 2 kids now in high school, shared finances, holidays, the whole package. So when Mark sat me down last Tuesday night after the kids were in their rooms and calmly stated, "Ellen, I think we need to get a divorce," the floor dropped out from under me. There was no big fight preceding it, no obvious affair I knew of, though maybe I'd been naive. Just that, a calm, final-sounding statement. He said he wasn't happy, hadn't been for a while, and thought it was best for both of us. He even had the name of a lawyer ready, a Ms. Evelyn Hayes, suggesting I make an appointment, saying she was very efficient and could handle things smoothly for both of us. Looking back, that phrase should have been a red flag. Numb and heartbroken, I did as he suggested. I felt like a ghost floating through the motions. 2 days later, I was sitting in the plush, slightly intimidating waiting room of Hayes & Associates. Everything smelled faintly of lemon polish and expensive paper. Ms. Hayes called me in herself. She was sharp, dressed in a perfectly tailored gray suit, hair pulled back severely. Her office was immaculate, overlooking the city skyline. She didn't offer much in the way of small talk. "Ms. Peterson?" she asked, gesturing to the chair opposite her large mahogany desk. I nodded, my throat tight. My married name is Thompson, but I'd given my maiden name Peterson when making the appointment, perhaps subconsciously wanting some distance from the mess. "Thank you for coming in," she said, opening a thin file that seemed to already be on her desk. "Mr. Thompson contacted my office regarding the initiation of divorce proceedings. He indicated you would be reaching out to coordinate representation or potentially discuss an uncontested filing." She looked up at me over her glasses, her expression professional but distant. "So, Ms. Peterson, are you seeking separate counsel, or are you here today representing your interests in relation to Mr. Thompson's filing?" My mind was racing. His filing? He made it sound like a suggestion, not a done deal. And representing my interests? It felt so cold, so transactional. I took a shaky breath. "Actually," I said, my voice barely a whisper at first, then gaining a bit of strength, "there might be some confusion. My name is Ellen Thompson. Peterson is my maiden name." I paused, meeting her gaze directly. "I'm the wife." The reaction was instantaneous and utterly unexpected. Ms. Hayes' professional mask didn't just slip, it shattered. Her perfectly shaped eyebrows shot up towards her hairline. Her mouth opened slightly, then snapped shut. She physically recoiled, a tiny bit in her expensive leather chair, and her eyes darted down to the file on her desk as if searching for an explanation that wasn't there. You're Mrs. Thompson?" she stammered, the brisk efficiency gone, replaced by undisguised shock. She flipped a page in her file, then another, her brow furrowed in disbelief. "But Mark, Mr. Thompson, he never mentioned. He discussed the division of assets, the accounts. He gave the impression—" She trailed off, clearly, flustered and realizing she might have said too much, especially about the preliminary asset outlines. The pieces clicked into place in my head with sickening clarity. Mark hadn't just suggested I see this lawyer. He had already been seeing her. He had likely presented the situation focusing only on how he wanted things divided, perhaps implying I was already informed or compliant. He was setting the stage, trying to control the narrative and potentially the outcome before I even had a chance to process the divorce request, let alone seek truly independent advice. He had sent me straight into the lion's den, possibly hoping this lawyer would pressure me into a quick, unfavorable agreement based on his version of events. Ms. Hayes quickly tried to regain her composure, straightening her suit jacket. "My apologies, Mrs. Thompson," she said, her tone now carefully neutral, but the shock still lingered in her eyes. "There appears to have been a significant miscommunication from my client, given my prior conversations with Mr. Thompson. Regarding his intentions and preliminary asset outlines, I believe it would represent a conflict of interest for me or my firm to advise you further." She stood up, signaling the meeting was over before it had truly begun. "I strongly recommend you seek independent legal counsel immediately. Do not sign anything your husband presents to you without your own lawyer reviewing it thoroughly. I walked out of that pristine office, down the elevator, and onto the bustling street feeling my legs tremble, but with a cold clarity I'd never known. The street noise seemed muffled, distant. Reaching my car before even putting the key in. The ignition. The dam broke. Not a cry of pure sadness, but a dry, angry sob. 15 years. How could he? It wasn't just the divorce, it was the way, the calculated attempt to manipulate me, to disadvantage me from the start. That shocked look on Ms. Hayes' face. Mark wasn't just unhappy, he was treacherous. I took a deep breath, wiped the tears with the back of my hand. The heartbreak was still a gaping hole in my chest, but the anger was an unexpected fuel. I picked up my phone. My first instinct was to call Mark, to scream, accuse, demand answers. But Ms. Hayes' accidental warning echoed, "Seek independent legal counsel immediately." Instead of calling Mark, I dialed Carol, a friend who'd navigated a difficult divorce years ago. "Carol? It's Ellen." I tried to keep my voice steady. "I need a name. The best divorce lawyer you know? Someone who isn't afraid to fight." Carol, sensing the urgency, didn't press for details then. She gave me the contact for Sarah Chen. "She's a shark, Ellen, but a fair one. She'll fight for you." Driving home, my mind raced. What could Mark be hiding? Why the rush and the secrecy? He'd always handled the larger finances, the investments. I trusted him. What a fool I'd been. As soon as I walked into the house, our house, now feeling like a minefield, I went straight to our shared office. I logged into the computer, accessed our joint online bank statement. Nothing obviously wrong there, but a chill ran down my spine. What about investment accounts? His emails? I booked an appointment with Sarah Chen for the next day. Her office was less opulent than Ms. Hayes', but buzzed with focused energy. I laid out the whole story, from Mark's calm announcement to the first lawyer's jaw-dropping reaction. Sarah listened intently, her sharp eyes missing nothing. When I finished, she nodded slowly. "Ellen, your instincts are right," Sarah said. "Your husband's behavior and Ms. Hayes' reaction strongly suggest he wasn't being transparent. Attempting to send you to the lawyer he'd already consulted is unethical and implies he has something to hide or wanted to secure a quick, favorable settlement for himself. We'll find out what." In the days that followed, as Sarah initiated the formal legal proceedings, including requests for full financial disclosure, I did my own quiet digging. I sifted through old emails, archived credit card statements. That's when I found it. Emails between Mark and a commercial real estate broker about a property downtown. A purchase made 6 months prior, funded from an account I knew nothing about. The amount was substantial, and the timing coincided with when Mark started becoming more distant, more stressed with work. My blood ran cold. He had used our money, or what should have been ours, for a secret investment, and now wanted out of the marriage to ensure I couldn't touch it? I presented my findings to Sarah. Her eyes lit up with a warrior's glint. "This is it," she murmured. "He likely hoped to finalize the divorce before this property appreciated or before you discovered the secret account. Now we have leverage." The battle that ensued was far more grueling and dirty than I could have ever imagined. Mark's amicable facade vanished the moment Sarah filed our petition with the full financial disclosure demands. His new lawyer employed stall tactics. Mark couldn't find old statements, his computer needed repairs, and lost data. Sarah was relentless, filing motions to compel disclosure, hiring a forensic accountant who meticulously traced diverted funds and hidden assets. At home, the tension was suffocating. Mark and I communicated via curt texts about the kids' logistics. Liam, 16, grew quieter. Maya, 14, oscillated between anger and sadness. One night, I overheard Liam confronting his father. "Why are you doing this to Mom?" Seeing my children's pain caused by the man I'd loved was the hardest part. Mark even tried emotional blackmail, suggesting a lowball settlement for the kids' sake. Seeing their photos that night only strengthened my resolve. The forensic accountant confirmed everything: the secret account, the commercial property inn, a planned revitalization zone, not a high risk as Mark claimed, and steady cash withdrawals over 2 years likely for hidden personal expenses. Armed with proof, Sarah pushed for mediation. In that neutral room, the tension was thick. Mark, cornered, still tried to lowball and deny. His lawyer tried intimidation. I stayed calm, guided by Sarah. The turning point came when discussing the commercial property. It's speculative, Mark insisted. Not according to the city's development plans and comparable sales, Mark, Sarah countered coolly, presenting the evidence. I looked Mark straight in the eye. Mark, I said, my voice steady, devoid of heat, just cold resolution. I know what you did. The account, the property, the missing money, the charade is over. Either we reach a fair agreement today based on reality and all assets, or I'll see you in court, and believe me, I'm prepared. His bluff was called. Hours later, we had a settlement. It was painful, but it was fair. I would keep the family home, buying out his share with a larger portion of the now acknowledged liquid assets, receive appropriate alimony and child support, and the commercial property's value was fully factored into the division. He kept the property, but owed me a significant equalization payment. Signing the final papers was surreal. No eye contact, just the scratch of pens sealing the end of 15 years. 1 year later, a year passed. A year of rebuilding. I sold the big house, moved with the kids to a smaller, cozier home. I returned to my graphic design work full-time, finding liberation in managing my own finances. Liam was prepping for college, his relationship with Mark. Polite but distant. Maya found her footing in school theater, lighter without the constant tension at home. Our communication deepened. Mark, I heard the commercial property's appreciation stalled due to project delays. He was financially strained, struggling to pay the settlement and maintain his lifestyle. His relationship with the kids remained superficial. He didn't seem to have found the happiness he'd claimed to seek. I felt no vindication, just a sad acknowledgement of his choice's consequences. As for me, no new romance was on the horizon, and that was fine. I was rediscovering Ellen. I reconnected with old friends, took up pottery, learned basic home repairs. I found a strength I never knew I had, forged in betrayal's fire but tempered by the fight for justice. The scar of the divorce would always be there, a reminder of the pain. But it was no longer an open wound. It was the mark of a battle won, not against Mark, but for my own dignity, my children's future, and my peace of mind. I was Ellen Thompson, defined not by a broken marriage, but by the resilience I'd unearthed within myself. Looking forward, for the first time in a long time, I saw possibilities. I was ready.